Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Fright Night Friday Blu-ray update. Yeah, I got a stack of modern horror this time. Yes, as much as I love the retro stuff and the wonderful scares of yesteryear, I do like a lot of modern horror too. So let's take a look at some new additions to the modern horror collection that I picked up in recent months today on Fright Night Friday on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Okay, so first up, I picked up a remake. Now, there was a film I picked up a while ago that was one that I had been waffling on for years, and then finally pulled the trigger on it. Still haven't watched it, actually, but I remembered recently, it's like, wait a minute, there was a remake of this one recently. So that could be a potential review, because I've done that before, where I'll review the original and the remake and kind of compare them and give my thoughts on both versions. So I thought this one might be a fun one to do too, because the original's kind of a cult favorite and has its fans. And, you know, I haven't heard much about the remake. Maybe just that it wasn't as good. But I don't know, whatever. Remakes are a bit of a mixed bag, I find, in that respect. So anyway, the original is, of course, Embrace of the Vampire with Alyssa Milano. This is the one I got a while ago. And then here we have Embrace of the Vampire with Sharon Hinnendale. I have no idea who that is. Anyway, I figured why not? You know, I enjoy vampire movies as much as the next guy. And I thought this would be a fun, maybe double feature review. So let's take a quick look at the packaging and the extras and all that good stuff. Ooh, unrated edition. The innocence is over. Yeah, I guess the thing she was most famous for prior to this was Who's the Boss? So the fact that she was in like this sexy vampire movie and, well, naked in it was kind of a big deal at the time. But, you know, regardless of that, I've just always generally liked Alyssa Milano. And, of course, a good vampire romp. So, very cool. And then here we have, what's her name? Sharon Hinnendale. Yeah, I've never heard of her. But, anyway, this is the new version of Embrace of the Vampire. Oh, look at that. Barely any artwork for the DVD, but the poster artwork on the Blu-ray. Ooh, and look, this one's unrated too. We might have boobies in here somewhere, I bet. Boobs. Anyway, cool. Looking forward to checking those out. Yeah, extras. What extras? There's just nothing. Okay. Oh well. I guess they thought that much about it that they just didn't even bother to put any extras on it. Anyway, I'm sure this will be a fun one to check out. Alright, next up. As you'll probably know, I'm a big fan of the found footage genre. I've done a number of videos on the subject over the years. Usually under the title Horror Movies That Look Like Home Movies. And I think I've done some individual reviews as well of a few of my favorites. But this is one that has kind of an interesting history. It gained a bit of notoriety in that it was only available as a bootleg for a very long time. It was produced quite a few years ago, but for whatever reason just never found a distributor. And just kind of sat on the shelf until someone somewhere leaked it to the internet, and I just kind of heard about it through the grapevine. One of my longtime friends on Stickam actually recommended it to him. He says, "Oh, Sean, if you like found footage, you got to check out this movie." I'm like, "Okay, I'll see if I can find it." It's like, "Oh, it's not available on DVD." It's like, "What? Really?" It's like, "Yeah, you can only get it as a bootleg." I'm like, "Ooh, how mysterious." So I found it, I watched it, and I thought it was amazing. It was literally one of the best, most genuinely chilling found footage movies I'd ever seen, and fast became one of my favorites. So I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting and hoping that they'd put out an official release. I really wanted to support the release because it was such a damn good movie. So, Scream Factory to the rescue. They managed to get their hands on it, and they put it out on Blu-ray. I'm, of course, talking about the Poughkeepsie Tapes. Yeah. So this is a great found footage film, basically about a serial killer. It kind of goes back and forth between non-found footage of, I guess almost like documentary footage of the FBI agents who are trying to track this serial killer, coupled with VHS tapes that they found where he actually videotaped all of his murders. And yeah, so it goes back and forth between footage from the tapes and the investigation. And it's really, really good. It's very intense, especially the tape footage is very well done and very convincing. But it's really, really good stuff. If you like found footage movies, you have to check this one out. It's one of the all-time greats. And I think this is actually kind of a director's cut as well. It's a slightly alternate cut than the one that was in circulation on the internet for many, many years. But it's great to finally have an official release of this, something that we thought we'd never get, and glad to see that Scream Factory made it possible for us. So let's take a quick look at the packaging and extras. The Poughkeepsie Tapes. Yeah. Anyway, very cool. As I said, I mean, it's just great that this finally got a Blu-ray release. So glad that it finally got an official release. What do we got here? Looks like DVD and Blu-ray. Very cool. I don't think there's much. Yeah, actually there is a little bit of extras on here. So we got some interviews with the writer-director, writer-producer, and one of the main actresses, which is very cool. As I said, you don't usually get a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with found footage movies. And there you go. So it's very cool to have a little bit of insight into this one, especially since it's such a, kind of legendary one. That it's great to finally have it on Blu-ray. Yeah, so kind of nice to have some extras, I have to say, because a lot of times with found footage movies, the extras are very sparse. I mean, they might have an alternate ending or something, or a little bit of deleted scenes, but that's about it. You usually don't get much about the making of the movie. So it's really nice that they actually have a little bit of stuff on here. I think the reason for that is it's kind of a conceit of the genre, where found footage movies are they're always played off as if they're real, which of course they aren't, but that's kind of, as I say, a conceit of the genre. So they don't put extras on there to maintain the illusion that this is actual footage that was discovered of this thing that happened, and scary. Yeah, so anyway, nice treat to actually have some extras on here. Great movie. This is one I know I'm going to rewatch over and over again for many, many years. Next up, another found footage movie, kind of part of a subgenre that's sprung up recently, and one that I suspect we're going to see a lot more of with the whole COVID thing going on, because this type of movie is the type of thing you can make fairly easily in isolation over the internet. A subgenre referred to as desktop horror, where basically the entire view is of someone's desktop and the video feeds of the people they're talking to and the things that are happening to them and whatnot during the feed. So a few years ago, there was one that came out that did fairly well, and it was had some supernatural twists to it. And then a couple years later, they put out a sequel. I'm, of course, talking about Unfriended. Now, this is the sequel, Unfriended Dark Web. Now, this one takes a bit of a different turn. Whereas the first one had some supernatural aspects to the strange goings-on during the video chat, this one does not. It's all just people. Very bad people doing very bad things to people who messed with things that they shouldn't have messed with. And honestly, it's really good. I really liked this one a lot. I thought the first one was okay, but this one I enjoyed even more. So yeah, so I might do like a full review of the two of them, like a double feature review or something. Don't ask me when. I'll do it at some point, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. Stay tuned and find out. But they're both ones that I'd like to revisit at some point, and you know, and maybe go a little more in depth. So yeah, as I say, with found footage movies, they tend not to have a lot of extras. Case in point, let's take a look at the packaging and extras for this one. Welcome to the dark web. Yeah, so this one, I say again, it's nice to have a bit of extra stuff for a found footage film. In this case, all we've got is some alternate endings, but they are very interesting alternate endings that show what might have been. There we go. Not much to speak of on the disc art there, but yeah. I enjoyed this one. I don't know if they're doing any more, but I liked the two that we got. Yeah, there you go. So in this case, you have some alternate endings. I think it has like 3 alternate endings. And honestly, the alternate endings are really interesting. I really like how they put some additional twists on the end of the film. And I think when it was in theaters, it actually had 2 of the endings. So depending which theater you went to, you would get one ending or the other. So yeah, so there's the one that's on the Blu-ray here, and then there's 3 other endings in the alternate endings. But that's it for the extras. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I really like this one a lot, and I look forward to seeing more from this desktop horror genre. There was actually a really good one I saw recently, which predates Unfriended, called The Den, which is a similar idea. It takes place primarily in video chat rooms and stuff like that. And it's not supernatural goings-on. It's just, again, bad people doing bad things to unwary people. It's very good. It was put out on DVD. There is no Blu-ray that I've been able to find. The DVD, I believe, is out of print, but you can find it on YouTube. That's where I actually watched it. So yeah, that one's called The Den, and I highly recommend it. It's very good if you like found footage, and especially if you like the desktop horror subgenre of found footage. It's quite good. Next up, I got a sequel, which feels like it was a long time coming, but what a fun pair of movies. Actually watched both of these with Rosie as kind of an early Halloween thing. We had watched the previous adaptation of it, which was a TV miniseries many years ago, and you know, she's been watching a lot more horror movies lately, and I thought, well, did you want to watch the new one? She's like, yeah, sure, okay. So we watched the new one. She really enjoyed it a lot. We both really enjoyed it a lot. I'm, of course, talking about It, Chapter 2. Now, a lot of people have been kind of mixed on this one. The general consensus seems to be Part 1 was better than Part 2. And it's funny, because I remember hearing the exact same thing about the miniseries. I think what it boils down to is people just find it scarier when it's the kids in peril rather than the adults, you know? And I kind of agree with that. I mean, having children in peril from this horrible supernatural creature is definitely scarier than grown-ups. But at the same time, I mean, I've always just looked at it as all one big story. I mean, it's still the same people. They're still going through, you know, they're reliving their childhood traumas as adults and having to deal with this thing once and for all. So I enjoyed it. I like both parts. Same thing with the miniseries. I enjoy it as a whole. And it's the same thing with this. I enjoy it as a whole. Is it perfect? No. It does suffer from some third act issues, which a lot of films of this type do. That's a common issue with horror movies and sci-fi movies and action movies. The third act kind of, I mean, it necessarily has to wrap things up, and it necessarily has to have a big epic confrontation with whatever the adversary is, and this one certainly doesn't skimp on that. But, you know, the overall experience was an enjoyable one. Loved Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Holy moly, what a revelation. He was so scary in this. I mean, it was great. And I really liked the cast. You know, both the kids and the grown-up versions of the characters. I thought they were all great. So, anyway, It Chapter 2, good stuff. Let's take a quick peek at the packaging and the extras. It, or in French, Ka. I don't know. Anyway, obviously the Canadian Blu-ray release. Got a decent number of special features on there. So if we open it up, basically pretty standard, no interior artwork to speak of. Not much in the way of disc art either, just kind of simple. And we got the DVD and Blu-ray there. But, yeah, I liked it. Both parts, both versions. I really enjoy the story. I really got to read the book one of these days. And there you go. So, yeah, not a bad little selection of extras on there. Yeah, good stuff. I like it. I like both of them. Supposedly we're going to be getting some kind of director's cut of both parts that actually adds a lot of additional footage in there. So definitely one I will consider double dipping on, because I really enjoyed the version that we have now. Good stuff. All right, last but most certainly not least, as many of you will know, Universal Studios has been trying for years to do a new cinematic universe with the classic monsters, and they just keep failing. I don't know why. Like, they tried it way back in the early 2000s with Van Helsing, didn't take off. They tried it again with The Wolfman, didn't take off. They tried it again with Dracula Untold, didn't take off. They tried it again with The Mummy, didn't take off. So finally they said, screw it, let's give it to Blumhouse. And Blumhouse gave us The Invisible Man. And I think this time they got it right. It's funny that Universal kept screwing it up so many times, because, I mean, the Universal Monsters movies, that's the original cinematic universe. You know, it started with Dracula and Frankenstein, and then carried on through the Wolfman, and then we had the Monster Mash trilogy, and then all the Frankenstein sequels. I mean, it was great stuff, and it's one that I enjoy revisiting time and again. But for whatever reason, trying to do a modern take on it, you'd think it would be easy. The studio that originated it just kept failing again and again. So I guess fifth time's the charm. This one, I have to say, is so damn good. I watched this pretty much as soon as I got it home, because I'd heard nothing but good things about it. And what an amazing film. Genuinely chilling and scary and suspenseful. And one twist to it that I was not expecting is it's basically the story about a woman in an abusive relationship trying to escape, which is wonderful. I love that type of thing where it's like someone in a horrible situation getting out of it and just fighting tooth and nail to get out of it. It's very inspiring. I've known a lot of women and men in abusive relationships, and seeing a story like this is just, you know, kind of gives one hope that maybe they'll get out of it if they haven't already. And I really like this a lot. In this case, of course, the abusive male half of that relationship is the Invisible Man. So, you know, that makes it even worse. But yeah, this was really, really good. Very, very well done. And can't wait to see what's next. I think they're doing, what is it? They're doing a Wolfman movie next, I think. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Anyway, let's take a quick look here at the packaging and the extras. The Invisible Man. Yeah, this one was L'Homme Invisible. The Invisible Man. Yeah, this one was quite a pleasant surprise. Definitely a difficult watch for anyone who, may find the subject matter a little triggering. One thing that's a little annoying is, I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, big crease there. Yeah, thanks Amazon. Normally, I get stuff in pretty good condition from Amazon, but once in a while, it, isn't. So let's just check it out here. So, yeah, in this case, again, not much to look at in terms of disc art. We got the DVD and the Blu-ray, and that's it. And it does come with a digital code as well. Most of these come with digital codes, but I always take those inserts out before I show you the inside so no one goes and snags my digital code. There you go. So yeah, there's actually a pretty good selection of behind-the-scenes tidbits here. You got an audio commentary, some deleted scenes, and a wonderful featurette that gives you a lot of insight. Shows you how they did some of the Invisible Man effects, for example, like when Elizabeth Moss is fighting him in the kitchen, how it was actually the actor who plays the Invisible Man in a green screen suit, literally dragging her around and stuff, and as they're doing the fight, and it was really interesting to see how they put that all together. But yeah, this is such a good movie. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's really, really well done, and I can't wait to see what more they do with these classic characters and ideas. Alrighty, well, that is it from me to you for now. Nice stack of modern horror. Just to recap, we got Embrace of the Vampire, and the Poughkeepsie Tapes, and Unfriended Dark Web, and It Chapter 2, and last but most definitely not least, The Invisible Man. Oh, where'd it go? Okay, lame joke. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. I will, of course, include Amazon links to all of these in the description if you'd like to add any of them to your collection. Using my Amazon links does help to support the show, so thank you very much for that. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream just about every day. I will see you next time. Until then, sayonara.